All pre-service teachers in programs today will face culturally and linguistically diverse students in their classrooms at some point in their careers. As a result, while they are in teacher education programs, they should be given the skills and the knowledge that they need so that they can be successful in classrooms with diverse learners. And I think the area of sheltered content instruction is a critical one for all teachers to address at the pre-service level, later in graduate school where possible, and certainly on the job and through any types of professional development that the school districts may offer. What we find is that the teachers need to have a grounding in second language acquisition theory. They have to understand cross-cultural communication. It may even be useful if they understand the educational systems to some extent that their students have been exposed to in their native language, in their native lands. But when it comes down to sheltered content instruction, clearly there is a lot to learn, because all teachers will be teachers of language and teachers of one particular content area. Now, we certainly find that in some cases we have ESL teachers, designated ESL teachers, who do content-based language instruction. With this regard, they may choose from a variety of content areas. In fact, they might combine several content areas to create thematic curriculum. For example, in the elementary school, primary grades, you may have a curriculum that deals with farming and agriculture. And the ESL teacher will bring in the areas of mathematics, of science, and of social studies, and help provide the students with some grounding in the language associated with not only farming, agriculture, and those particular subject areas, but also in the language development needs that they have. At upper grades, you might find that there's a thematic curriculum designed around endangered species. And again, it brings in perhaps a lot of science, but there may be social studies or geography that's included along with the language learning aspects. However, for the pre-service teachers who are not studying to be ESL specialists or language development specialists, we want to have those who are getting an elementary ed degree or those who are getting a content area degree understanding the different methods and techniques that will help make content comprehensible and help develop language skills among the students. We don't want, for example, to have a history teacher who is trained as a historian who comes into class, let's say it's a 10th grade class on government, and has second language learners in the classroom, has never been taught about ESL techniques, and because of the situation decides, okay, I know these students aren't very advanced in learning English, so throughout the entire year I'm just going to use simple terms and the present tense. Well, that does a disservice to the students. It certainly doesn't fit in the mode with what we want them to, the skills we want the students to learn and develop. It also may not fit with the knowledge they have to have for the tests that are often coming at the end of any school year or at some point later in their high school career that might determine whether or not they can be promoted or whether or not they can graduate from high school. It's very helpful for pre-service teachers to have experience visiting or observing classrooms where we have second language learners in the content areas. They can learn a lot from seeing ESL teachers work with these students or seeing their content colleagues work with them as well. This is one of the more effective ways to identify the strategies that are successful with the students. There are some certain tools and resources that all pre-service teachers might want to keep on their shelves. One of them, of course, are the national ESL standards for pre-K to 12 students. Because in this book there are a number of vignettes of actual classroom practice that range in the types of programs and classes where we find second language learners, all teachers will find this book helpful. They can look through it and identify effective pedagogical practices that are standards-based and that work with students who are learning content at the same time they are learning English. There are a number of other materials that are available that specifically address sheltered content instruction, one of which is a book that my colleague Jana Echeverria and I worked on with Mary Ellen Voigt entitled Making Content Comprehensible for English Language Learners, and it's available from Allen and Bacon. During the course of their education, pre-service teachers would also benefit from opportunities to design sheltered lessons. Ideally, they could collaborate with either an ESL teacher if they are a content specialist, or with a content specialist if they're an ESL designated teacher, and together develop sheltered lessons that will draw from the curriculum content objectives and language objectives that would help the students develop their skills. One of the other things that would be very valuable is for pre-service teachers to learn how to examine potential materials that they might use in the classroom. This is both textbooks or other supplemental workbooks that might be available, and look to see if they are standards-based and if they include language development activities for the students, or at the very least, if they provide some guidance to the teacher in working with second language learners. There's a new series from Hampton Brown, in fact, called High Point, which is more or less content-based language arts that's also standards-based, so that it can work very effectively with second language learners. It's built around authentic literature that is multicultural. It ties into the standards from Florida, New York, Texas, California, Illinois, and a number of other places. And as an interesting facet of the design, it also includes content area connections. These would be activities that would draw from the themes of the literature, but apply them to mathematics or to geography or to biology or some of the other content areas.